Today on Tech Crazy, we're going to find out if you can cool a PC with an air can. First, we're going to see how hot it gets when you're running Cinebench. Now that Cinebench is done rendering, we got a max temperature of 48 degrees Celsius on Core 1 and 50 degrees on Core 2. It is only a dual core machine and it runs pretty cool, but with an air can, we're going to see if we can run it cooler. Before we can air can cool it, we gotta take everything apart. Okay, not everything, but we gotta take off the cooler, take off all the shrouds, and we'll get to it from there. If you want to talk about a beefy stock heatsink, this is the one. But most HP machines are used for commercial and office uses where they generally don't get cleaned ever, so that's why they need big stuff like this. So this is one dusty computer. Okay, now we removed all the thermal paste, getting this thing ready. So far we said we were going to be cooling off a computer with an air can, and if you don't know how that's possible, when you have an air can, you flip it upside down, it's extremely cold. As you can see, it is dropped into the minuses, still dropping. Everything is frosty. And it's about minus 25. So that's how we're going to keep the CPU cool, is with an air can upside down, basically spitting frost onto it. What's our chip heat at right now? 30 degrees.
Booting.
Okay. That's not bad for 30 degrees at booting. Just keep an eye on that. I don't want to fry this chip. It's a good chip still. Alright, you want to get Cinebench going? I can watch the temperature. It shouldn't overheat off the bat. Like, they're pretty low powered chips. And being in with the CPU cooler on, it only hit 50. It's probably not going to get too hot. But this is just seeing if we can actually cool it off and keep it really cool. We might actually get a better Cinebench score. Actually, I don't think so.
Probably not.
Because it wasn't thermal throttling at all.
No.
Yeah, it's only at 30.
Are you sure? Because this says it's at 72 min.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You usually have to get that thing pretty close. And I haven't even opened Cinebench yet.
So the inside of the chip's really hot.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me give it a spray. So what's it at in the gauge?
72.
72.
69, 67. See, well, it's going down hard now. 50, 50, 48. It's dropping solidly now. Okay, stop. You're frosty. It's at 30.
So we dropped it to 30 pretty fast.
It starts to come back up right away. I'm going to start Cinebench now. Run on that.
So I guess our outside temperature gauge is not doing a good job. But I guess that's just the top, and it's supposed to put the heat through the thermal paste, which we don't have.
Yeah. It's boosted back up to 72.
So if we're at 73, 74 and climbing hard, we're just going to give it another spray here. Where are we at?
It's sitting right around 71. It's slowly dropping.
That's a lot of cold air going on it.
Yeah.
This shows you how
70.
powerful a CPU cooler really is.
Oh, now we're starting to drop. 64, 65-ish.
We might have to stop Cinebench. There's a lot of liquid on this thing.
We're at 70. You're freezing a lot of other things. 53, 48. It's getting cold now. 34, 23, 6, 5. 9.
It's gonna heat back up real fast.
It's gonna come right back up.
Do you want to kill Cinebench?
Yeah.
I don't think we need Cinebench for how hot this is.
We're gonna kill Cinebench.
So we've absolutely frosted this thing.
Yeah.
And
outer temp right now says -9.
Well, that's because that's right on the frost. But it's sitting at 23 degrees, idle.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. What was our highest reading? 82 and 80.
82, yeah. Lowest was 5.
Ow.
So that's how much a CPU cooler actually cools it down. That was a lot of cold air. Like, the tip of the gun is ice.
Still is, yeah.
Yeah.
And you've seen how fast that cooled off when I hit the thermometer with it. That dropped quick.
Yeah.
That's a true test to show you that you would need a CPU cooler and how good it actually can be, especially something that size. Well, I think for our next test, we should put the CPU cooler on without a fan.
CPU cooler without a fan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's see what we can do with that. Alright, here we go. Fire Cinebench. 26 degrees on our temperature app. I'm going to wait until it heats up a little ways before I start spraying. I think it'll take a while to actually heat up.
It's gotta warm all the fins.
Yeah, just how big that heatsink is more than anything else.
Yeah. 41 on our highest core, 39 on the other.
Spray it once it gets to over 50, probably 55, 60.
If it gets to over 50, it's holding 41, 42, pretty solid right now.
Huh.
Who needs a fan? Just put the heatsink back on.
So this computer's got good passive cooling.
Yeah.
Say that much.
It's starting to pick up a bit, 44, 45.
So that really shows the difference even just between a no heatsink to heatsink. This one doesn't even have a fan on it, and that's just fine. But so we got 2-in-1 testing today. Yeah. Yes, we can cool a CPU with an air can. And if your fan fails on a fairly low-powered machine, it's probably not going to overheat on you. And most people aren't going to be running these machines at 100% CPU usage for a long period of time, if at all. Looking at this to how it was now, this is very much as hot as it got before when it ran at the fan.
Yep.
The fan's not doing much. I think we should spray it now. Probably just under halfway under the test. 50 and 52 degrees.
Yeah, see what happens.
Give it a few sprays through, and we'll see what... Has anything changed yet?
Oh, went down a little bit, but I also saw a lot of that frost come off the heatsink right away. So it took some of the heat. Yeah, it is slowly coming down a bit, but the frost hasn't stayed on the fins like it did with the CPU and on some of the other stuff, because I think a lot of that heat got rid of that real fast. Okay, I saw that come all the way through.
Yeah, that went way through. That was a good, powerful blow.
And it has dropped the temp. We're at 45 on each right now.
44. So it takes quite a bit with the heatsink, but you can technically cool your computer with a can of air. Now, money-wise, go buy a cheap $2 fan, and it would do better with the heatsink than this air can would that's $10, and you probably use the whole thing in one session.
Yeah. Has started to climb again, 47, 48, so.
I think that's a good test.
But I guess this more proves the test that even if your fan dies, you could probably run your PC for a while still. It's not like, or at least this PC with this big of a heatsink, it's not making that much of a difference.
In the end, yes, you can cool a CPU with an air can flipped upside down. But is it worth it? We used almost a whole can of air for just a few minutes of testing on the CPU. If you need to cool off a CPU, just buy a cheap heatsink and fan, and it'll do just fine. Hit the like button if you want to see us cool off a graphics card with an air can.
It's a GTX 720, and we're going to quickly throw that in so this panel comes right out, and then you move, I don't know...